and apostate profit. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DebateCon 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DebateCon 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DebateCon 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DebateCon 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on microphone. Let's see, steady. You got that? Hey, everybody. Today we're debating whether or not the moon landings are a hoax, and we are starting right now with Craig's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Craig. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. I'm ecstatic to be here, and also ecstatic to be live in Newark, New Jersey in 2 weeks as part of DebateCon 5. Absolutely ecstatic. You can get tickets for that in the description of this video. Okay, let's look at one of the, what I would say, dumbest conspiracy theories that there is still floating around, the moon landing denial. The idea that NASA faked the Apollo missions is about as scientifically sound as a flat earther's physics textbook. And yet, here we are, still having to explain why 1969 wasn't just a very expensive Hollywood production. The Apollo program wasn't just some backlot film set. Over 400,000 engineers, scientists, and astronauts worked on it. Unless you believe they were all in on the world's largest running prank, the evidence is frankly overwhelming. We've got lunar rocks, chemically distinct from anything on Earth, retroreflectors left behind that anyone with the right equipment can bounce lasers off, and high-resolution images from modern lunar satellites showing the Apollo landing site. And if NASA faked it, they sure went the extra mile, convincing the Soviet Union, their Cold War rivals, to just kind of go along with it instead of exposing them. I mean, that's some next level mind control. Oh, and by the way, if they faked it once, then why fake it 6 times? That's like robbing one bank successfully and then deciding to rob 5 more just to test your luck. So today I'm going to take a trip through the real evidence, debunk the usual nonsense, and hopefully by the end of this, anyone still clinging to the idea that Kubrick directed the moon landing will realize their argument holds about as much weight as a feather in microgravity. Right, so NASA brought back about 382 kilograms of moon rocks and soil from the Apollo missions. These samples have been studied by geologists across the entire world from practically every country on the planet, including scientists from countries that were not aligned with the US during the Cold War, like the Soviet Union and China. What makes them unique? Well, they contain microscopic impact craters from cosmic radiation, which could only happen to objects that have been outside of Earth's atmosphere for millions and millions of years. So how do we know they're real? Well, independent labs in China, Japan, Russia, Europe, India, and Asia have confirmed their origins. We've even compared them to moon rocks collected by robotic Soviet missions, and they contained exactly the same composition. You know, Russia once again confirming what NASA did. If NASA faked them, they also somehow tricked the entire global scientific community into confirming their authenticity, not once, not twice, but 5 times. Retroreflectors. So Apollos 11, 14, and 15, the astronauts left behind retroreflectors, which are basically fancy massive mirrors designed to reflect as much light as possible back to its source. They're still in use today, although slightly less reactive than they were due to cosmic radiation damaging the surface and things like that. But scientists still fire lasers at them to measure the distance between Earth and the moon. This is called lunar laser ranging. Who else has actually verified this? Well, the Apache Point Observatory in New Mexico, the McDonald's Observatory in Texas, and even Russia and France have used them for experiments. If we never went there, well, who put them there? Moon, fairies? I don't know. If the retroreflectors weren't there, then we wouldn't be getting laser readings back. You could say that, well, it's just a robotic mission, but then there's the actual evidence of the missions happening whilst they put them there. Then we've got the high-resolution photos of the Apollo sites. In 2009, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, took high-resolution images of the Apollo landing sites, clearly showing astronauts' footprints, lunar rover tracks, and descent stages of the landers. And it's not just NASA that has done this. There's been lunar orbiters from many countries, again, including China, Russia, Japan, India, all confirming the same images, albeit by different resolutions by each person, by each country, but they all show the same thing. Now, during the Apollo missions, radio signals from the spacecraft were tracked not just by government sources, but by independent sources all over the world. The Soviet Union had capacity to monitor Apollo's transmissions, and if the US had faked it, then they would have known because they were monitoring where the signal was coming from. And as they were America's biggest enemy at the time, they definitely would have called them out. Australian radio telescopes, including the Parkes Observatory, made famous in the Dish movie, received Apollo 11's transmissions directly from space before NASA even got them. That means the signals weren't coming from a Hollywood studio in America, but from, well, at least Australia. But why Australia? Because they could see the moon and America couldn't. And one of the biggest things is the physics of the moon landing can't be faked. The footage of the astronauts moving on the moon shows a distinct gravitational effect that can't be faked in Earth's gravity. And there's one specific bit of footage that I like called the Grand Prix, where it shows the lunar buggy going backwards and forwards, and you can actually analyze the dust particles coming out the back of the tires being kicked up, and they travel in such particular patterns that could only happen in conditions that, number one, have no atmosphere, and number two, have a lower gravitational acceleration than Earth. So if the claim is that they were faked in a studio, they would still have to explain how they reduced the gravity to do that filming. So we've got physical evidence, ongoing experiments, satellite images, radio tracking, and footage showing physics that cannot be faked. The only way the moon landings didn't happen is if NASA faked it and also somehow tricked the entire scientific community, rival space agencies, radio astronomers, and physics itself. And if that's the case, then maybe the moon is made of cheese and we should all just wear tinfoil hats to block the brain rays. Let's hear what the skeptics have to say, but I've got a little bit of a feeling it's going to be a bumpy ride through Mount Stupid.
Thank you very much for that opening. We are going to kick it into Marcus's opening as well. Do want to let you know, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James Coons. We are a neutral debate platform, and our conference, DebateCon 5, is happening in Newark, New Jersey. That is linked in the description box, as Fight the Flat Earth Craig, as well as many other popular debaters, will be in Newark in 2 weeks on February 14th, 15th, and 16th. You don't want to miss it. Check out the link below for tickets. With that, thank you very much, Marcus. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, James. And thank you, Craig. That was a splendid summary, which I shall address point by point. I just want to cover, this is basically my position. Man has landed on the moon. We've seen it on TV, looked at the photographs, listened to the interviews, read the books. So how can it not be true? We all want it to be true. Landing a man on the moon is said to be the greatest scientific achievement of the past 100 years. It has been voted the top TV moment of the 20th century. It would be if it had all happened the way we have been shown, but did it? Or has NASA yet again lived up to its other name? Never a straight answer. Or not always scientifically accurate. Or numerous anomalies and scams abound. These are amusing little acronyms. Right, the first moon landings, Apollo 11, took place over 55 years ago in 1969. The world has since moved on to other matters, and the emotion of the event has dimmed. Now, Apollo can be examined in meticulous detail. There are many anomalies in the photographs and the films. There are many unanswered questions as to how man could survive the very real dangers of the hard vacuum of space, let alone the heat and the radiation encountered beyond the protection of the Earth's magnetosphere. How are the acknowledged dangers of radiation in space overcome when no protection was built into the Apollo spacecraft, the spacesuits, or the Hasselblad cameras used on the moon? The lunar landers sat on the moon's surface for up to 72 hours in direct sunlight, the temperature of which on the moon is higher than the boiling point of water, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees centigrade. How did the astronauts keep cool? Air conditioning cannot work in a vacuum. How were such iconic photographs taken on the lunar surface? The astronauts used cameras which had no viewfinder, no exposure meter, no means of knowing if a picture had been taken, as well as manual control of the focusing, automatic aperture setting, and shutter speed dials. The Hasselblad 500 EL camera is not a point-and-shoot camera. The Apollo astronauts were operating their Hasselblad 500 EL cameras whilst wearing spacesuits, which with what were in effect heavy-duty gardening gloves on their hand. Under such severe conditions, severe restrictions, how do they produce such professional results? Especially when photographic film, this stuff, for anybody who's never seen it, that's a photographic film. And photographic film is known to be severely damaged and rendered useless by the hard vacuum on the moon. NASA is the only source for all the evidence of man's landing on the moon. So much of it is so questionable, I contend that it could not have happened the way we have been led to believe it did. At worst, the whole Apollo missions were fabricated. At best, we have been seriously misled as to man's ability to survive more than a few hundred miles above the Earth's surface. Could this be the reason there are only now any plans to return astronauts to the moon on the Artemis program. So we have a lot of things to unpick here. I'm saying that there is no evidence that humans, us delicate little creatures, have traveled to, landed on, walked across, and returned from the lunar surface. No evidence that cannot be contested. If you want to believe that man has landed on the moon, please go ahead and do so. All I'm saying is that there is hard, factual, scientific, and provable, repeatable evidence that humans have not landed on the moon. We've been told they have. That's not the same thing at all. What we've got to look at is the evidence for it. And Craig has mentioned quite a lot of evidence. The 400,000 people who allegedly, well, did work on the Apollo program. It occupied 5% of the US national budget in 1965. A lot of money was being spent. A lot of people worked on the program, the contractors, but they were based in Washington State at Boeing, Lockheed down in California, Texas, where the command center was, or mission control, Florida, where the launch site was, New York, where the landers were being made, Connecticut, where the spacesuits were being made, right across America. That was one of the purposes behind Apollo, was to spread the load right across America. So do you honestly think that all those people were sent some sort of memo? They didn't have email back in those days, saying, we're going to fake it, guys, but don't tell anybody. That's just ridiculous. It's a stupid idea. Sort of thing Walt Disney might have come up with for Bugs Bunny to do, but not for decent scientific evidence around the place, not for engineers who were working on these things. The reflectors, we're told that must be evidence, the reflectors, because somebody must have put them there. When was the first time a laser reflector, a laser was bounced off the lunar surface? By the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It was in 1962, 7 years before Apollo. The Soviet Union did the same thing the following year, 1963. So you don't need a mirror on the moon to reflect a laser. It makes a good story, though. And you've also got to look at the incontrovertible fact that there is a great deal of activity on the lunar surface because it's not protected by any atmosphere as we are here on Earth. You get loads of dust settling onto the surface. You get impacts coming in, which throws up dust. How do we know those mirrors are not basically covered up with dust? Because they were placed close to the lunar landers, we're told. When the lunar lander took off, it would have raised the dust, which would have settled back down onto the reflectors. Rather difficult to get a reflection off a dust-covered mirror. Oh, by the way, let's just deal with the Kubrick connection, shall we? Stanley Kubrick had nothing whatsoever to do with any faking of films about Apollo. He was far too busy completing his masterwork, 2001: A Space Odyssey, over here in the UK. It was released in 1968. A lot of post-production on it. Kubrick had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing at all. And the idea that he did is actually not helpful to his memory. His memory should be of a master filmmaker, not some dubious government stooge walking along trying to fake a moon landing. It's such a ridiculous idea. I know where it came from. And there is a connection with Kubrick. Maybe this is what people got upset about. The connection with Kubrick is his special effects director, Douglas Trumbull, who might well have been able to do. Douglas Trumbull did work with NASA prior to doing 2001, so he had connections. Anyway, we'll come back to that. The rocks. Oh, the moon rocks. Oh, I got one here. Here's a piece of moon rock. How do you know it's a piece of moon rock? I hear you say. Did I say so? Well, where's NASA's moon rock? They say it's moon rock. How do you know? Oh, scientists have examined it. They must have got it right. Well, these little pits on them, which indicate that they came from the moon. You don't get little pits, which are micrometeorite impact craters on these. I got a few on here as well. There's lots of micrometeor impact craters on there. So this could be a piece of moon rock. I can explain where it came from later. So anyway, there's a lot of, and you mentioned the other nations that have launched unmanned craft, I should hasten to add, unmanned craft to the moon: the Soviet Union, China, Japan, India, Israel. They've all launched unmanned craft to the moon. Not one of them have put a human being on board. They've all done it without humans. And they photographed the Apollo landing sites, we're told. Oh, come on, I've heard of Photoshop too. The Chinese have never said they photographed any Apollo landing sites. All they have said is they have seen evidence of Apollo on the lunar surface. Japan haven't photographed anything. India haven't photographed anything. So the idea that all these nations have said, oh, we saw Apollo on the moon, we've seen the footprints. Oh, a stupid idea. You can't see footprints. They've been covered over. There's been a lot of activity on the lunar surface. Meteorites or micrometeorites hitting the surface, putting up the dust. Every time the sun goes around, every time the moon goes around the sun, which it does as the Earth goes around the sun, like static electricity, the dust is raised during the day and lowered during the night. So
30 seconds.
Forget thank you. Forget there being any form of dust on any form of rock on the moon indicating footprint. The footprint's about that wide. You're saying you can see that on the moon? Forget it. I'll come back to more detail about these photographs later because there's a very interesting comparison.
You got it.
Okay, I think we probably completed that. So just to summarize, no human has ever landed, walked across, or returned from the lunar surface. They're still trying to do it with Artemis. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that opening. And a couple of quick housekeeping things. Folks, if you did not know, on the bottom right of your screen, as you can see, DebateCon 5 in Newark, New Jersey. Tickets are linked in the description box below. What are you waiting for? Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, and Wits It Gets It will be at this conference. See them live, meet them in person. And not only that, but, well, I'll let you know about the rest once we have a break during the open dialogue. I want to kick it over to our guests. Gentlemen, thank you very much. The floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Thank you. If I could just get 1 quick minute just to address my audience, because I'm streaming as well. Guys, you know I've been going for about 23 hours now, and there's 5 hours, 38 minutes left on the timer. Every new membership adds 3 minutes to the timer. I stream for as long as you make me. Literally, I will just keep going until you kill me or something. But yeah, let's get on with this. Marcus, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Craig.
Concise attempt to address the things that I brought up. It was actually much better than I felt your previous attempt was. However, I do have to push back on what you said about Kubrick. Kubrick absolutely did film the moon landings, but he was such a perfectionist, he insisted on doing it on location.
I've heard of that as well.
Yeah.
And where was the location he filmed it?
The moon, obviously. That was a joke.
No, it was Cinder Lake, Arizona.
I was joking.
I know you were joking.
Okay, so you brought up quite a few things which, with all due respect, seem to fall under the purview of you not having the correct scientific information to understand why these things would happen. Like you mentioned the dangers in space, like the radiation and the protection, whereas there was protection. They specifically designed spacecraft and suits to protect them from the radiation. So I don't know why you would say there was no protection when there was specifically designed things for that. It just seemed to be a claim of yours without anything to back it up. Would you mind delving into that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a good point to start with. What is the evidence that you have that the radiation protection used in the spacecraft and the space suits worked and existed even? Where is the evidence it existed?
See what I'm holding in my hand here? It's
Yeah.
a bit of paper. Yeah. This could block the majority of the radiation that they would experience out there. The majority of the radiation would be alpha radiation that would be easily blocked. Anything higher would they, number one, not be of enough intensity to do damage. And number two, the missions were designed specifically to spend the minimal amount of time within any radiation band. So yes, they had to go through a certain area of the Van Allen belt. However, the Apollo missions specifically designed the trajectory of the craft to go through areas with the minimal amount of radiation and to spend the least time within the radiation. And they didn't receive very large doses at all. And this can be backed up by the engineering specifications of all the materials that are used compared to the radiation that is out there. Again, the majority of the radiation would be alpha radiation, which can be blocked by something as simple as a piece of paper. But the main thing was the fact they spent such little amount of time within the areas that could do any potential damage that it mitigated anything that could have happened.
Okay, that's a standard answer. I accept that as a standard answer, which is, shall we say, a little bit off-center. Yes, certain radiation can be stopped by pieces of paper. Sunlight, for instance, can be stopped with a piece of paper. It's not difficult. But what are the other forms of radiation? They're X-rays, they're gamma rays, they're all the galactic cosmic rays from deep space. When you go to have your teeth X-rayed, the technician will put up radiation or an X-ray machine up against your tooth. Then he'll be wearing his own lead apron. Lead is very good at stopping radiation. It's very dense. Or he'll leave the room. Because you're going to be just X-rayed once and he has to protect himself against multiple X-rays, he probably does it every day, he'll use protection. There are X-rays in space. There's a lot of material given off by the sun which we are protected from here on Earth by, as you mentioned, the Van Allen radiation belts, which circle Earth and are quite thick around the equator. Relatively little is over the poles. Now, there's been a confusion about this because there's a certain gentleman who decided that he would just show how it was possible to avoid the Van Allen radiation belts, named after Professor James Van Allen of Iowa University, who first proposed them and then confirmed them on Explorer 4 back in the late 1950s. He wrote it up in Scientific American and said that it would be best if humans were to go beyond these belts, it would be best that they exited via the poles, North and South Pole. That's correct. That's an accurate statement to make. You can't go through the middle of these radiation belts because you'll get damaged. Now, there's a gentleman by the name of Robert Braunig who posted a complex explanation as to how you could exit through the poles.
Just to be sure that we, I know that there's a lot to unpack. Forgive me for jumping in, but we want to kick it back over to Fight the Flat Earth momentarily if you're able to wrap up that thought.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me know if you can hear me.
Well, yeah.
Well, I want to give you a chance to finish your sentence, Marcus.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to just completely, but just want to be sure that the dialogue back and forth, that the ball keeps getting tossed over the net.
Okay. So
Right.
is it Craig to challenge me now?
Well, yeah, I'd just like to address some of what you said. You kind of glossed over the main point that I made there, Marcus, and that is that the key to what happened was exposure. You're not going to get damaged in a way that's significant by briefly being within these radiation belts. Like I said, the paths that were taken were designed to, number one, minimize the amount of time spent within the radiation belts, and number two, go through the weaker areas. Now, the Van Allen belts contain trapped radiation, but it's not like an instant death zone. The spacecraft passed through what would be called the danger zone in under an hour, minimizing exposure, and they received about 1 to 2 rem, which would be roughly the same as a few CT scans. That was the radiation that they received whilst actually traveling through the Van Allen radiation belts. So yes, there is radiation, and if they spent a significant amount of time within specifically the danger zone, it would do damage to their DNA and make them extremely ill and cause death eventually. But like I said, the key is exposure time. Like you mentioned, you can be getting an x-ray. I've had many, many x-rays throughout my life, but the doctor stands away because he doesn't want to be constantly getting hit with x-rays. But I can get an x-ray and be fine. The same as the astronauts going through, they spent very little time. They weren't in there a great deal of time. So overall, their exposure levels were extremely small.
Okay. Is the radiation beyond the Van Allen belts?
Well, you mean like cosmic radiation and stuff?
All sorts of radiation.
Yeah, but not radiation that would be damaging to them from where they are. They're still within magnetic fields created by the Earth. They're protected by the heliosphere of the sun, which actually stops the majority of radiation.
Sorry, no.
If I could finish what I'm saying without being interrupted, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. So the main radiation, the cosmic radiation from outside of our solar system, is actually deflected by the heliosphere of the sun. So the main sources of radiation are already being deflected, and the protections that are on the spacecraft and spacesuits were enough for the limited time that they were exposed to the radiation.
Okay. Now, what was this section?
Spacecraft and spacesuits.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think you've got the wrong information there.
I would say that no, I've got the correct information, and I've just explained to you completely succinctly. And with all due respect, Marcus, nah is not a response I accept as an acceptable rebuttal. Could you please address the thing that I have said about the minimal exposure time and why that is the important thing?
Okay, where did you get your information from?
Science, physics, my degree in physics, my knowledge of radiation, my degree in nuclear engineering, which gave me a specifically good knowledge of radiation and how radiation affects the body. My significant studies of the moon landing missions, my analysis of the data and the radiation actually, that they had little things that captured the radiation that they traveled through, that showed the dose that they got. I've analyzed the results from those. I have looked at the specifics of the materials involved and the radiation and what the exposure level would be through that. I have done extensive engineering analysis of all the equipment and radiation involved, thanks to my 2 degrees that directly relate to this field.
Well, thank you. A very succinct answer. There is radiation beyond the Van Allen radiation belts. And the reason we know this is because on the Artemis mission that was launched in December 2014, the first one, it didn't go out as far as the moon. It went out about 3,500 miles. Its main purpose was to measure radiation levels, which it did. The next Artemis mission was launched about 10 years later, 2024, and that was also going to measure radiation levels. They had 2 crash test dummies called Helga and Zohar in the Orion capsule, wired up with all sorts of radiation meters. And that was sent to the moon and returned. And when we asked to see what the radiation readings were in these latest missions, We were told we couldn't see them because it was national security. Why is the level of radiation in the beyond Earth orbit a matter of national security? Is it because the release of that with more recent equipment would indicate that humans, as you said, would have had serious DNA damage if they had gone unprotected through the radiation belts on the moon or going to the moon? I would say the answer that it's a supposition. I'm not saying it's fact, but why don't they release the radiation readings that were recorded on these crash test dummies? If you have access to people with important information, maybe you could approach them and ask them to release that information.
That information is available at nasa.gov. You can find it there simply. You seem to once again have brushed over the response that I have given, that is to do specifically with exposure time. They limited the exposure that they had, even outside of the banana radiation belts. Now, here's the thing. Well, can I just quickly ask you a brief question before going back to my statement? Are you aware of the two types of radiation that you would encounter outside of the banana belts?
Yeah, of course I am.
What are they?
Galactic cosmic rays, X-rays.
Well, there's two specific ones. You got one,
yeah,
galactic cosmic rays. What is the other one?
Yeah. There's the radiation you get from solar flares on the sun.
Solar particle events. Yeah, those are the two types, right?
That's why I was trying to get.
Yep. Outside of the banana belts, those are literally the two radiations that you would get. The radiation that comes directly from the sun, known as SPEs, solar particle events, and galactic cosmic rays, which are just high energy radiation from outside of our solar system. The second one is, like I've explained, completely mitigated by the sun's heliosphere. The galactic cosmic rays do not get inside our solar system in any amount that could cause us any harm, whereas the solar particle events, we can actually determine where they're going to be and mitigate the amount of time spent in those places as well. The main point is that cosmic radiation isn't instantly lethal. It's not like stepping into a microwave and turning it on, whacking it up to max and cooking yourself by vibrating the water molecules in your body. It is about dosage over time. The total dose from cosmic rays and solar radiation during Apollo was measured and well within safe limits. For comparison, the Apollo astronauts received about 5 to 11 rem per mission. A nuclear plant worker's annual limit is 5 rem. NASA's career limit for astronauts is 100 to 400 rem. The Apollo astronauts got less radiation in a week than ISS astronauts get in 6 months.
And?
Well, there we go. They didn't spend enough time in space to have a sufficient dose of radiation for it to be an issue.
If you say so.
I do, and I've just given you the figures and data to back up my claim. Once again, Marcus, I would very much appreciate it if you didn't just say, if you say so, it would be much appreciated if you could engage in the things that I say.
I just did.
No, you went, if you say so, that's not really engaging with it. That's just kind of dismissing it, which is a little bit disrespectful in the confines of a debate where both of us have a burden with our position.
I'm not saying I'm dismissing it. I'm just saying I don't agree with it.
Well, then could you please give me a succinct scientific reason why you do not agree with it?
Because I don't think the figures are correct. I think
based on what?
Well, my estimation is that a lot of the evidence that you are presenting is produced by NASA.
Actually, a lot of this is backed up by third-party companies that were not specifically NASA. The company that looked after the radiation monitoring pins was not a government agency. It was actually a civilian contractor that worked under contract for NASA, so not NASA. What you did there was you went, I don't trust NASA, therefore it's fake. And although within scientific debates using fallacies isn't really appropriate, that would be known as a genetic fallacy, where what you've done is you've attacked the person or the entity giving the information rather than addressing the information, which is basically a dodge, duck, dive, dip, dodge away from the question.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm glad you agree.
There are a lot of things I agree on. I actually read up this stuff. There's a book by one of the contributors to the Apollo Lunar Surface Journal.
Wonderful. I've read many books as well.
Say again?
Wonderful. I've read many books as well.
Yeah, and the Richard Feynman book, the Challenger Inquiry.
Yeah, I spoke to many of Richard Feynman's students, actually.
Yeah, he's a brilliant scientist.
Yeah, I know. I based a lot of my understanding on him. And he would have said that everything that you said about radiation was incorrect. My point here, Marcus, is that what you're doing is you're going, I don't believe this thing. Give me an explanation. I give you the explanation, then you just go, huh, okay. Well, with all due respect, that's not a debate. That's just you asking me questions and then not engaging with what I'm doing. Could you please give me, without just going, it's NASA, so I don't believe it, a reason why you disagree with the figures about the radiation received whilst doing the Apollo missions?
Right. The figures you originally quoted, I believe, were published by NASA after the Apollo 17 mission, where they listed the various levels of radiation on each mission. And it showed variations between about 1.17, I think was the top one, and down to about 0.4. Anyway, there were various levels of radiation each Apollo mission had allegedly met. A lot of when the radiation levels were measured on the International Space Station, very similar levels of radiation were recorded. Which
I would have to disagree with that. Yeah, actually, that is, sorry to interrupt you there, but that's a completely false statement, Marcus. The Apollo astronauts get less radiation in a week than the ISS astronauts receive within 6 months. I think what you've done is you've conflated the same radiation or similar types of radiation with it being the same dosages, whereas that simply isn't true. According to all statistics and measurements, the ISS astronauts receive, like I said, the Apollo astronauts got less radiation in a week than the ISS astronauts receive in 6 months. So we know that the ISS astronauts can stay out there for 6 months. So the fact that the Apollo astronauts were getting less radiation than the ISS astronauts get in 6 months shows that there was no danger to them. The fact that these figures could be recorded by NASA is irrelevant to whether they are up for discussion or not. You do not get to automatically dismiss evidence because it comes from a source that you find unreliable.
Okay. No, radiation received in a week is going to be vastly less than radiation received in 6 months. But bear in mind that the International Space Station flies below the Van Allen belts. There will be less radiation.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. With all due respect, Marcus, I don't want you to strawman me. So I do need to make sure you're understanding what I'm saying. The point is that yes, it's not in the Van Allen radiation belts, but the radiation that the astronauts receive whilst on the ISS for 6 months is a safe dosage because those astronauts can stay there for more than 6 months.
Yeah.
The dosage that they receive over 6 months, the astronauts in the Apollo missions receive less than that during their missions. Therefore, logically following, if one is safe and the other is less than that, then that also has to be safe even more so.
I can't believe you just said that the Apollo astronauts received less radiation.
They did. In 1 week, during the time of the Apollo astronauts, during their missions, they received less radiation during their entire mission than the ISS astronauts receive in 6 months. The point being, the ISS astronauts are safe over 6 months. The Apollo astronauts received less than that during their missions, therefore were also safe. Because one is less than the other, meaning that it is even more safe than the other one. Your incredulity about me saying that is slightly irrelevant.
I think we've covered the radiation levels. We don't agree. I don't agree. You may have.
Your agreeing is, to be honest, irrelevant to the fact. You don't get to have your own facts in a scientific debate. you have no basis to dismiss the things I've said other than what appears to be your personal feelings, which, and let me be clear here, without trying to be harsh, your personal feelings do not belong in this debate.
No, of course they don't.
Right, so it would be wonderful if you could leave them out, because what you've done is you've dismissed all the evidence that I've given because of your personal feelings towards NASA. So I would ask respectfully if you could remove your personal feelings from the debate and engage in this in an honest and scientific manner.
Okay. I hear what you say. I don't agree with it, but I hear what you say. I think we should move on. There are many other areas to go. Radiation is not my strong suit. Let's put it that way. Photographic film, on the other hand, and photographs are more to my taste. So that's why I challenged what you said about Kubrick as being anything to do with it. He wasn't.
Yeah, I know, it was a joke, r/whoosh.
Yeah, I know it's a joke. I know it's a joke.
No, you didn't.
How about vacuum? Is that something you've studied?
What do you mean, is vacuum something I studied? I have a degree in physics. I know what a vacuum is. It is something that is lower pressure than something else. So I'm confused. You started talking about photographs and then you flipped to vacuum.
Because the two are linked. When we're talking about Apollo.
Yeah, I do believe we spoke about this last time, Marcus, and I explained to you that the severe modifications the film that underwent, and then you presented a video of someone trying to alter the film using radiation, whereas the people used completely incorrect film and incorrect radiation. The simple answer to anything you could bring up about the film is that they were heavily modified to be, one, easily usable, and two, protected from the elements.
No, they were not altered.
Yes, they were. I'm sorry, you cannot lie. They absolutely were.
No, I'm not. No, listen to what I'm going to say. There were two types of film used. There was black and white film and there was color film. The black and white film they were all made by Kodak of Rochester. They were made by Kodak. Panatomic was the black and white film and Ektachrome was the color film. When a documentary about this subject was being made, the managing director of Kodak was interviewed, or an assistant to the managing director of Kodak was interviewed. And he was asked if there was anything special about the films used on Apollo. This film was made about 20 years ago. Hi, guys. I don't know who that is, but give him a wave.
What? What do you mean?
Well, there's somebody behind you.
No, it's not.
No, he's moved out now. Anyway,
What are you on about?
What? Yeah, he just walked in and walked out and just waved to him.
I'm the only man that lives in this house.
Oh, we got a strange situation here. There was
Weird.
somebody behind you.
It wasn't a hallucination. I think just momentarily, like someone was barely in the shot. But don't worry, it looked like they were cleaning. They're not gonna hurt Craig.
No, could have been one of my clones. I don't know. There's several of me.
Oh, that's good. Okay, let's get back to the film. When David Percy was making his film What Happened on the Moon, he interviewed the assistant to the managing director of Kodak. And he was asked that exact question. Were the films, what was different about the films used on Apollo? And he said there was nothing different. They had, except for slightly thinner bases. Photographic film, this stuff, because that was what was used. We're talking photographic film here. It's a plastic backing, which is coated with light-sensitive emulsion. That's how film is made. In the case of a color film, there are three layers, three colors. In the case of black and white film, it's ceruiodide crystals, which are coated onto the backing. And he said, what was different about the film? They were slightly thinner backing, so more could fit into the magazine. And they had 150 odd color exposures could fit into the extended magazine on the Hasselblad camera, and about 200 black and white film photographs could be taken using black and white film. So there was nothing different about the film. It was standard Ektachrome color, Panatomic, black and white.
Okay,
This idea
no,
that-
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. you
This idea that there's a special film developed for Apollo has never been found. Nobody's ever found any.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to completely call you out with that is a complete and utter fabrication. NASA used specifically designed Hasselblad cameras with modifications to handle space conditions, and here's how they ensured the film survived. Protection against radiation. Space, of course, has radiation, but cosmic rays, solar radiation, and the Van Allen belts. But the Apollo missions passed through these regions quickly. They weren't exposed long enough for radiation to affect the film. The film was silver halide based, which is far less sensitive to radiation than modern digital sensors. NASA also shielded the film inside the camera bodies. The cameras were mostly metal, providing additional protection from radiation. Space isn't just hot or cold. It depends on what is indirect sunlight or not. The cameras were covered in a reflective silver coating, which prevented any overheating by reflecting solar radiation. The film magazines were kept inside the lunar module when not in use, meaning that they weren't left exposed to the extreme temperatures or radiations for extended periods. The lunar surface has no air, so there is no heat transfer through conduction or convection, only through radiation. The insulated film and camera prevented rapid temperature changes. Now, here's the important part. Kodak developed a special film, which you claim they didn't, which is wrong. They developed a thin-based ester film that could withstand a wider range of temperatures. Unlike regular earth-bound films, this film had no gelatin layer, which could be affected by humidity, something space lacks entirely. The film did not require processing in space, avoiding any issues with developing chemicals behaving differently in microgravity. So I am afraid what you have stated there is just an outright factual wrong thing. You can find the specifics on the modification done to the film freely available on NASA's website. I don't care if you don't like to go to NASA's website and find the evidence there.
I've seen a lot of the NASA PDFs. We've examined a lot of them. We've also conducted experiments with it. Just because NASA says it does not necessarily mean it's correct.
Well, then you have to provide evidence that what they've said is false. You can't just claim it's false without providing a reason to say it's false. Once again, what you're doing, Marcus, and I have to be forceful on this here, you are simply doing nothing.
No, why? Just because I challenged you doesn't mean to say...
No, Marcus, I have to be forceful about the way that you're engaging in the conversation, because what you're doing is nothing but attacking NASA as a source and ultimately dismissing them as evidence. You cannot do that in a debate. You do not get to decide what is and isn't evidence. You cannot dismiss something simply because your feelings tell you you don't like where it came from. You can find all of the information available on the NASA website. Marcus, please. Marcus, please, if I could finish what I'm saying.
Just stop the lecturing.
Marcus, I let you speak for a long time. If I could just finish what I'm saying, please, thank you. Right? You made factually false claims. Frankly, they were lies, because you can easily find the information around the altered films that allowed them to survive in the conditions on the lunar surface. Simply saying there was no alterations is nothing but an outright lie. If you have evidence that it is a lie, then please present that evidence. Otherwise, concede the point and move on.
No, thank you. I appreciate your concern about my ability to debate. Okay, let's get back to the film, shall we? This is photographic film. You're quite right, it was ester based. That's short for polyester, a plastic.
I'm aware, yes, I have a degree in physics.
Made from crude oil, by the way. Anyway, that's another story. When this photographic film is placed in a vacuum, the vacuum has an effect on the film. If it is placed in a very hard vacuum, which exists on the moon, it will have an identifiable effect on the resulting image. We've done the experiments. We've used vacuum chambers. We've put photographic film, the same ester-based film as was used on Apollo, into the vacuum chamber, taken it down as far as that particular vacuum chamber would go, which is torr 10 to the minus 3, i.e. not very much. That's a very mild vacuum compared to what's on the moon, which is torr 10 to the minus 12. where the space station is, it's torr 10 to the minus 6. So it varies because it's distance from Earth. Put a photographic film into a vacuum chamber. For the amount of time it would have been exposed on the lunar surface, we're talking about Apollo 17, there was 8 hours on the lunar surface, or 7 hours, 56 minutes to be exact. You then take that film out of the vacuum chamber, put it into a camera, expose it correctly to take images, and the resulting image is demonstrably affected insofar as it is the color balance. If it's a color film, the color balance is visibly changed. And if it's a black and white film, the contrast level is visibly changed, and that's what's technically called fogging, where you've got reduced contrast. So we have demonstrated the photographic film is affected in a vacuum. The Hasselblad cameras.
Oh no, you're still going on, right? Okay,
Say again.
Sorry, I thought you'd finished. I was going to respond because I've heard this argument before, and frankly, everything once again you're saying is factually incorrect.
Thank you for your explanation. I appreciate that you are.
So the vacuum of space had no effect on.
You're so knowledgeable.
I am, because I do a lot of research. It's kind of my brand. So if I could just respond to that and knock it on the head. So your knowledge of the film is woefully inadequate, to be frank and candid with you. The vacuum of space had zero effect on the film. The photographic film was sealed within a strip of plastic coated with a light-sensitive chemical. It did not need air to function. This was a fundamental basis of how the film operated in space. In a vacuum, the film isn't affected at all because 1, there's no air to cause oxidation or chemical degradation. 2, the film is inside a pressurized camera body, so it was never directly exposed to space. 3, the chemicals in the film are not liquid, meaning there's nothing to boil or evaporate in a vacuum. If a vacuum destroyed film, satellites wouldn't be able to take pictures from space today, yet they do. Extreme temperatures didn't affect the film because the moon's surface went from 120 degrees C to negative 130 C, but the film never experienced those extremes because the camera was covered in reflective mylar insulation to prevent overheating. The film was stored inside the cameras, which acted as an extremely good thermal barrier. The Hasselblad cameras were designed specifically to radiate any excess heat, and the astronauts didn't even leave the cameras exposed for long. They took photos and returned them instantly to the lunar module. The radiation simply wasn't strong enough to damage the film. There was low energy radiation that they were in for a very short period of time, and the Apollo missions were far too short for it to be any issue. Earth-based X-ray machines are way stronger than Apollo radiation, yet film photographers still get clear images of X-ray machines. So once again, Marcus, I'm afraid everything you said was factually incorrect. My sources are available at nasa.gov. I do not care if you don't like NASA.
Thank you very much for that, and I would say that what you have just read is factually inaccurate.
I'll give you a chance to continue.
Do you have evidence for that?
No.
I'll give General 1 sec. I just want to let people know we will be going into the Q&A in about 10 minutes, but gentlemen, I'll let you go ahead, Marcus.
Okay, thanks. When a lot of the testing was done, it was done by external companies. NASA it's a contract. NASA determined the contractors and asked them to do particular experiments. I've read a lot of the PDFs that NASA have published on their website about the testing of the photographic film and the radiation and so on.
Do you have a source I could have a look at, please, if that's possible?
Say again?
Do you have a source for that information? But just in case you're wondering, everything that I am saying, I have sources available upon request. Do you have a source for what you've just claimed?
No, I've just said it. I just said I've read the NASA PDFs.
Yes, so could you point me to that PDF, please? Just saying I have read it is not the same as being able to provide a source. And once again, anything that I have said today, I have a source available because I prepared extensively for this debate. If you are claiming there is a PDF, could you please present that as source, or it will be dismissed, because claims made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Well done, sir. Well done. You're such a particularly impressive debater.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay,
It's
now,
kind of what I do. Did you hear that, everyone on my side? Marcus said that I am an extremely good debater and conceded that he has lost the debate. Isn't that wonderful?
I didn't concede anything. I just said you're a good debater.
Oh, do you not like it when people lie? Did you not enjoy that lying then?
Oh,
No, that's the thing, Marcus. What you've done so far is you've told a lot of lies, which you're aware are lies, because I did explain them to you last time. So I would appreciate it if you could stick to factual things that you can provide evidence and sources to back up.
I don't lie. That's not something I do. I may get things
just to
wrong.
be sure. Okay, just to be sure. Okay, so that we get into more of the substance, we're all on the same page on Craig says you're a liar, you say that you're not a liar and that you don't lie. And just to get to the content, because there's so much rhetoric that I want to be sure the subject matter is engaged with.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely. So, Marcus, could you please provide a source for your claim of the PDF that you've just mentioned?
I can't give you a specific title of the PDF.
Well, then we are going to, within the confines of debate rules, dismiss that as you're unable to present the evidence. Please go on to your next point.
Okay. We were talking about vacuum effect on photographic film.
Yes, I've already explained why you were wrong, because this isn't just a standard film. I've explained why the vacuum of space would not have affected the Apollo films, and I would very much appreciate it if you didn't ignore what I've said and repeat the same argument, which I've already debunked. We have finished apparently with the film because you're unable to provide any sources for your claims, whereas I have a source for everything that I've said. So unless you're able to present a source for your claim, Marcus, I would suggest that you please move on to the next point.
Okay. You said that this film, whatever the film was, Kodak film, had a special coating.
Yes. Would you like a source?
Now, what's the source of that? And what is this special coating? What's
I explained it to you. The photographic film is in a sealed strip of plastic coated with a light-sensitive chemical. It does not need air to function. There is in the vacuum, the film is not affected because there is no air to cause oxidation or chemical degradation. The film was inside a pressurized camera body, and the chemicals in the film are not liquid, meaning there is nothing to boil or evaporate in a vacuum. There was nothing within the film that the astronauts took to space that could have been affected by a vacuum. What you are holding there, Marcus, is nothing that is analogous to what the astronauts took to space. So I would suggest you put that down, as it is not an appropriate prop to be using.
All right. Let's deal with that, because you've read some more NASA information there. Obviously, you believe everything NASA tells you.
This, with all due respect, Marcus, this isn't about beliefs. Feelings are not important in a scientific debate. I have sources for my information. The fact that those sources come from NASA is irrelevant. Once again, you are showing your bias by saying it's NASA, I don't like that. Marcus, all the sources available for everything I've said to you about the films are available at NASA. I have the specific links if you would like them. You are incorrect about the film. The film that you are holding is not the same as the film the astronauts took. Could you please stop going around in circles when I have already debunked your argument, unless you have a specific source that can show me that I am wrong?
Okay. This idea that the film was specially made for the Apollo missions, and it had specific coating on it to prevent it.
Would you like a source for that? I can present a source.
Go on.
Okay, nasa.gov.
Go on, nasa.gov, and?
Yeah, that's the website where you can find all of that. If you would like more specific ones, I'd have to go into my notes. But like I have said, every single one of my sources is available at nasa.gov. If you would like, at the end of this debate, I can provide you with a detailed list of each link to everything I have specifically spoken about. NASA will confirm what I have said is correct. If you have a source that you can present of any kind, just even a random website with a link or a picture or anything that could back up your claim, then just name it. You don't even have to show it to me, just name the source.
Okay. The report that we wrote up following the test on the film, this stuff filmed in a vacuum chamber, was posted onto the aulis.com website. That's AULIS.com.
Sorry, what was posted onto what exactly was posted onto the website?
The report of the vacuum chamber testing of photographic film. And
once again, Marcus, I feel maybe you're ignoring the things I've said. That film that you are holding and the film that was tested by these people is not the same as the film that the astronauts took to space. I've got the specific source if you would like it. nasa.gov/history/ALSJ/Apollo/photokit.html contains all the details of the specifics of the film that was taken. It explains how they are not the same as a standard film. Once again, I feel like you are ignoring the words that I am saying and going around in circles. Marcus, it is not a standard film. It was a specifically designed. No, it wasn't. And I've just given you the link, the specific link that shows that you are wrong. It was not a standard film. That is incorrect. And I would if you stopped being like arrogant about this point when you are factually wrong. I have literally given you the link to go and find the information about the film used. It was not a standard film. It was altered for space. Unless you have evidence. Wait, let me finish. No, Marcus, I will finish what I'm saying. I will finish what I'm saying, and you will wait. Thank you. Marcus, if you have specific evidence to refute what I have said, then I would ask that you present it. Otherwise, stop going around in this circular argument because you have already lost it.
Thank you. You finished? You done your bit?
Yes, thanks, Marcus. See, now what I do is I let you talk for a long time without freaking out. Now you could do the same.
Oh, I like freaking out. It's part of my modus operandi.
Yes, well, if you can't act like an adult, then maybe I will have to do it for both of us.
We'll give Marcus a chance. We'll give you a chance to respond, Marcus, and then right after you respond, I have to go into the Q&A as we have questions already.
Okay. Now, I think we've seen a very interesting aspect of debate here, where we insist that the evidence I've produced is correct. All the time, the evidence I've produced. I'm talking about Craig here.
Well, I presented sources.
When I challenge some of these things, I'm accused of being incompetent, don't know what I'm talking about, and all the rest of it. Okay, I accept that I do make mistakes. I've been doing this for 30 odd years, so I've got a degree of knowledge about it. I have quite a lot of information about photographic film. I happen to know that photographic film is affected by a vacuum. And that is why I would say that the Apollo, that's one of the major reasons why the Apollo missions could not have happened in the way that we've been told. Because all the photographic images and the film, don't forget the film, filmed in a Mara 16mm film camera. Digital hadn't been invented at the time of Apollo. All the film and the photographs could not have been taken on the lunar surface. Therefore, the record that we see, and we're told interminably by NASA, was taken on the lunar surface, could not have been. If they insist on it, they are actually causing themselves a great deal of problem. What I would claim is that NASA should at least front up to the fact that they have a lot to learn about humans, I'm not talking about unmanned craft, humans in space. And we're seeing it with Artemis right now.
We'll jump into the Q&A. We do want to say, folks, thanks so much for your questions. We will. Let me know with your feedback in the live chat how my audio is. And this first one coming in from, do appreciate
James, sorry, just quickly, I have been, could I quickly take a bathroom break just before we go into Q&A, please? Thank you. Definitely. I have been streaming for quite a while. So if you just bear with me for 2 minutes, I will go and do a Riley. Bear with me.
That reminds me, I will do a quick intermission, letting you know, folks, DebateCon 5, our 2-day debate conference hosted by Modern Day Debate, by us, is going to happen in Newark, New Jersey. As you can see in the graphic behind me, Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, will be in person in Newark, New Jersey in 2 weeks. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be amazing. So check out the link in the description box. Whether you are watching here or on Craig's channel, that link for tickets is in the description box. Highly encourage you folks, if you want to see and meet people like Craig in person, as you can see on the bottom right of my screen, he'll be facing Alex Stein. In fact, in this same topic on whether or not the government has colluded to cover up moon landing, or I should say moon landing hoaxes. So you don't want to miss this. My dear friends, check out that link below. We will also have guests such as Dr. Lawrence Krauss, famous and popular atheist, against Mike Jones, inspiring philosophy. You don't want to miss it. Now, maybe you're like, James, that's cool, but I'm really far away. I can't do that. Don't worry. We have something for you as well, because you might be thinking, what is it that you have? As you can see in the bottom right of the screen, it says, pledge to the crowdfund to help make this event happen. And then you can see that thermometer on the far right side of the screen. It's up to 65%, if I'm seeing right. We're 65% of the way to our goal for our crowdfund to raise funds to cover the costs of the speakers' flights and hotel rooms. We're very excited about this. You can find the Indiegogo crowdfund link in the description box below as well. You have epic perks to choose from. So, for example, a signed photo of Craig Fight the Flat Earth, or if you'd like a signed emblem page signed by all of the debaters for that day, for example, Alex Stein, Fight the Flat Earth, Andrew Wilson. That's another cool perk that you can pledge to support this project at, and then get that perk as our thank you to you. With that, we're going to jump into this Q&A.
Also, James, everyone that meets me, I will give you a one-of-a-kind FTFE facepalm protection. You can only get them by meeting me in New Jersey or buying them during this membership stream.
Wow, folks, you don't want to miss out. It is going to be amazing. I like that. That's a charming, charming prop. This one from Sir Alexanderful says, I cannot deny the evidence we got there. My question is, what evidence do we have that we have successfully gotten home, and why does Buzz have a Hollywood star?
Why does Buzz have a Hollywood star? Because he's famous. Simple as that, really. It's not just for actors, it's for famous people and influential people and people that are important. There's presidents on there. There's doctors on there. There's people that have won Nobel Prizes on there. The Hollywood star is, the Walk of Fame is not just for people that are actors. It's for people that are well known and in the public eye and have done incredible things.
You got
like
it.
47.
This one from Frode Nace says, sitting in my hot tub in my garden here in Norway, -5 degrees Celsius outside and 40 degrees in the water, enjoying a nice bottle of white wine from New Zealand. Thanks, Frode. Appreciate that. I'm so glad you're having a good day. That makes me happy. LJ, by the way, thanks so much for your generous super chat. Just came in from 4-2 Attack. We're going to get to your question as well. It is in the list. LJ first asked, how do you personally know if anybody's ever landed? I think they mean on the moon.
Oh, crap. Right. So how do I know that people personally landed? Is because of the evidence that suggests it, or the videos, the photos, the tracking of the satellite data, the radio signals coming from it. We literally have videos of the stuff landing from cameras that were already there. We have, we have all the evidence that they were on the moon, meaning that they must have landed there. We have the videos of them leaving the moon and returning to Earth. All the evidence is there. So it's simply kind of overwhelming amounts of evidence. So that's how we know that it happened.
Well, the evidence may be overwhelming to some people. As I said at the beginning of my presentation, we all want to believe it happened. I watched it live on television. I was entranced by it.
No, you actually didn't watch it live on television. You watched an animation. The initial landing, the very first one, there wasn't a film of it because there was no cameras there. The first thing that you watched was an animation as they landed. Once they then landed, you then saw what happened afterwards. Nobody watched the first landing because there was nothing there to record it.
What are you talking about? I watched the first landing.
No, you watched an animation. And the first landing, there was nothing there to record it. The first landing, there was only an animation. What was broadcast to the public was an animation of the landing, and the broadcast of the radio signals, because there was no camera to record the initial landing. Once it was landed, that was then they started then broadcasting pictures and videos and stuff. But no, you probably remembered wrongly. If you look back, you will remember that it was actually an animation with the chatter on the radio over the top of it.
It was Walter Cronkite. And the animation was done on American television. I was watching it on the BBC in the UK. There was no animation then. The first thing we saw...
there was. You're incorrect. There was. It was an animation that was broadcast everywhere. The UK didn't get a separate signal to the US. There was no video recorder on the moon capturing the first landing. It was. This is like a misconception from a lot of people. The first landing, what you saw on TV was an animation. It's as simple as that. Doesn't disprove the moon landings. It's just a fact.
Because given the question, the last one was for Craig. I want to give him the last word on this one. Frode Nace says, "Hot tub guy, we landed on the moon. Stop being silly." Okay. David says, "Craig, only naive shills who get their info about space from NASA and folks who have been to space. I get my space info from Cracker Jack boxes, gum wrappers, and coloring books. They speak the truth." I have a feeling I was okay. Pancake.
I would much rather get.
Oh, there's your friend again.
What?
Yes. Look at him. Hi there.
Who?
It's behind you.
There's no one there. What are you on about?
Pancake of Destiny says, "Conspiracy theorists' skulls are a vacuum." And Dr. Tetanus says, "Appeal to authority, especially when the authority itself is in question and is being used as a source, is just as bad as source. Trust me, bro."
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. No, it's actually a terrible point.
Appeal to authority is a standard procedure.
Sorry, I would have to push back and say that that's not an appeal to authority. An appeal to authority is a fallacy where you appeal to an authority that is not related to the thing that you were talking about. For instance, if I said King Charles says that NASA went to space, that would be an appeal to authority. If I said NASA say they went to space and have evidence to back it up, that would not be an appeal to authority.
Thank you for that.
This one coming in from Danny D. Soul. Oh, gosh, why do you guys do this? They say, "James, ask Craig to read this out loud. That I am Sofa King. We Pod did." And then P.S.
Yeah.
I suppose I'll give you a chance to read that, Craig.
I mean, basically, if they want to send a super chat saying that they are, retarded, then that's up to them. Thank you for spending the money and supporting Modern Day Debate, the neutral debate platform, who are hosting a DebateCon in New Jersey, Newark. Every penny towards that counts. Nice job.
Thank you for that. They said, "Thanks for your kind words, Danny." But I do want to say, Craig is right. We do appreciate your help. The crowdfund is linked in the description box, folks. It really does help. I have to let folks know that there's a possibility that we're going to have a major speaker back out. So we are things are going to get pretty hairy in the next couple of days, assuming that we can't work something out. So this is the first conference.
Hey, if you need me to jump in for another debate, I'll do my best, whatever it is. All right.
It's possible. But yeah, basically, folks, want to let you know your support means more than you know. So these crowdfunds it really will help, because I think that, we're going to have a big controversy in the next 24 to 48 hours. 42 Attack says, "Craig, can you help me? I lean towards it was a hoax, but can't fully commit because why wouldn't Russia, China, or someone blow the USA's cover? Then again, don't all the big players agree on Antarctica? I wonder, are some secrets worth keeping?"
There's nothing secret about Antarctica. Antarctica was something put in place that some countries, but not all of them, agreed to protect Antarctica. But Antarctica isn't some secret place. You can go there. You can go and get a boat and go to Antarctica, and no one's going to stop you. You can get onto the shore and head to the center of Antarctica. No one's going to stop you. Here's the thing: you will die. It is the harshest desert on the planet. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure where Antarctica came in, except for the information that Werner von Braun and his colleagues visited Antarctica. Why they visited Antarctica just prior to the launch of Apollo 11, it's never been properly explained. Maybe he just wanted a nice holiday, or maybe he wanted to collect some rocks, who knows? But that's the best place to find meteorites because they show up against the snow. I don't know if he did. Maybe this is one of the ones he collected. The idea that how do we know for certain that that American astronauts landed on the moon? And one of the main arguments put forward is, has just been mentioned, that China and Russia and Japan haven't blown the whistle, to say it's not correct. They didn't go there, and we can prove it. They're not going to say that. That's part of the political or the geopolitical environment we live in. China would much rather get good information from NASA, which they do, and the agreement would have been, well, we won't expose the Apollo stuff if you don't expose the Yuri Gagarin stuff. When
this one coming.
The Soviet Union, as it was then, suffered a famine in the late 1960s, and America very generously provided millions of tons of wheat to alleviate the famine that was occurring. Maybe there was a quid pro. But there's also another point as to why they may not have blown the whistle.
Got to be the last point, though.
Okay. In 1968 was the contract signed between the Soviet Union for the supply of Soviet natural gas into West Germany, who provided the pipes to bring it from the Siberian gas fields into Europe. West Germany, as it was then, Austria and Hungary and Italy were receiving the natural gas. It was the main export of the Soviet Union. They were far more interested in the survival of their country and the foreign exchange that they would generate by the sale of their natural gas, which is their main product, than blowing some whistle on some American prancing around on the lunar surface. They had no interest in that at all. They were trying to go to the moon. The Soviet Union were trying to go to the moon, but unfortunately their rocket to do so, the N-1 rocket, 4 of them exploded and they didn't have any more, so they stopped doing it. And anyway, the major, as he was known, the chief designer, Sergei Korolev, had died in 1967. So they didn't have somebody who could organize the really quite complex procedures to get to the moon.
You got it. This one. Oh, Craig, did you feel like you adequately got to respond to that question, though? I don't want to skip over it.
Honestly, he talked for so long, I forgot what the question was.
Their question was, Craig, can you help me? I lean towards it was a hoax, but can't fully commit because.
No, I did that. It was all about the evidence. Just look at the evidence and don't be biased because it's a source you don't like.
You got it. Dr. Tetanus says, bro, why are you denying a man in a sleeveless shirt with a circular design of text or graphic on its back? Walked in and backed away like a raccoon. Oh, okay.
I am the only male that lives in this house apart from my 16-year-old son. There is no one behind me. I don't know what you're talking about. Look, people keep talking about like me being a clone or something, but that's just nonsense. Of course I couldn't be a clone. James, when you close your eyes, you see a barcode, right? No? Just me?
Do I see a what?
When you close your eyes, you see a barcode, right? No? Is it just
no?
me?
I don't. It's because you've been up so long. Craig's been up for how many hours have you been awake?
Oh God, well, I got up at 8 o'clock on Friday to go to the gym in the morning, so I've been up 24. I've been up for about 36 hours at this point.
Wow. This one coming in from, thank you very much. Danny D. Soul says, thanks, James. And Norak says, sitting or lying on the moon, sunbathing, you something you want to do. Thank you for that. Uh, this
No,
is
you don't.
Thunderstorm says, Marcus likes it. Says, Craig, is there a possibility of a secret moon base?
How did you know about? Right, you know what? If you could just do me a favor and James, close your eyes for a second, please. Everyone, just look at the camera. There is no secret moon base. You do not need to worry. I think you should just go to the next question, actually, James. That'd be wonderful.
Oh, just one point I'll make on that. Have you heard of the book Alternative 3? It was a book and a television program. It was made in the UK. It was written in the UK. A TV program was made in the UK and transmitted on national television in 1977. It was called Alternative 3, and it showed a base on Mars as well as on the moon. Now, this book was fiction, which the author has said, but it was based on fact. I'm not saying that those were the facts he based it on, but it was a good book. It was a very interesting program. It was to do with the brain drain. That was the scientists who were going to America from Britain in the late 1970s, which happened. I mean, that was for real. And it was how one of these scientists disappeared and his family tried to find him and they couldn't. It was basically a thriller. But that's maybe where that information comes from that book. It's fiction.
There's definitely no secret moon base. These are not the droids you're looking for.
I would agree that there is no moon base. No
Good.
secret.
I'm glad we have covered that. There is definitely no moon base.
No, there's no moon base.
Good. Thank you for agreeing.
Oh, I'll agree when it's true.
This one from Danny D. Soul says, I'll be back. Thank you for that, Danny. And thank you very much for this question coming in from Craig McNeill. Says, who's that good looking mofo in the Fred Perry polo? Damn, I'd love to see him live. What if I could see him live in New Jersey in 2 weeks? Where could I get tickets for that? I do want to, it is true. You could see him live in New Jersey. If you click on the link in the description box, there are tickets. Do want to tell you folks, we always try to keep these conferences affordable as possible. The goal of these conferences is to not make a profit, for real. Really, what it is for us is it's a fun time. We're building relationships. And to be fair, like Modern Day Debate does get a ton of brand exposure. So that for us is why we're doing it. So we do try to keep the tickets affordable. So it is $99 for the standard ticket, like 4 debates. An amazing time. Come on out and meet Craig as well as others. And I got to tell you, folks, that's linked both in the description box here at Modern Day Debate and in Craig's stream as well. Check out those tickets. If you're anywhere near Newark, in fact, even if you're from far away, I'm not joking. Some people have told me that they're flying in from England to see this conference. So amazing.
So excited.
And Danny D. Soul says the zippers and diapers prove it was a hoax. That's weird.
The claim that zippers can be airtight is and I don't want to be rude or insulting when I say this, but arrogance and ignorance, nothing more. Zippers can be airtight. Have you heard of scuba suits? They can be airtight. There can be contained domes that have pressurized internals that you put patients in that can't be exposed to the outside with airtight zippers. Zippers can be airtight, especially when there's multiple layers of them and they are designed to be airtight. Just saying that the zippers prove it's a hoax shows a lack of understanding of engineering and physics at the same time. And someone else in the chat just said to me, Craig says he's disabled but goes to the gym. My friend, have you ever heard of the Paralympics?
This one coming in from, let me know, was that in our chat or in your, is that Modern Day Debate chat?
No, in yours. It wasn't a super chat. It was just one of the people in your chat saying the fact that I go to the gym 5 days a week shows that I'm not disabled. Yeah, there's a reason I walk with a walking stick, and disabled people can work out as well.
Agreed. And yeah, folks, it is
Yeah.
such a turnoff when we get these personal attacks. So I do want to say, I get if it's like you make fun of somebody's hair or something, but I got to tell you, I kind of bringing some discipline into the chat right now is that you guys, when you do like more personal attacks, it's just cringe. So likewise, slander in the chat toward either of the speakers, we don't want it. So folks,
To answer the question, no, I'm not training for the Paralympics. I am, however, training for the Invictus Games. So there's that.
but you bet. Yeah, I do want to remind you. I want to be fair. 99% of people in the live chat are actually like cool and they're not lame like that. But the 1%, we got to remind you that we don't want personal attacks and the slander and stuff like that. Is we do want people to have a lot of freedom at modern day debate to say what they want, both in the debates and in the live chat. We don't want people feeling like they're walking on eggshells, but we also don't want people to just be trashy, right? So this one coming in from Thunderstorm says, Craig, are there hot women on the secret moon base? Okay, that's
Oh, for
weird.
God's sakes, I can't use the flash more than once in an hour. You guys are gonna like get brain cancer and stuff.
This one from, let's see. I don't know what inside joke that is, but 42 Attack says, thank you, Mr. Allen. You understood more of what I was asking. It seems that some secret agreements could possibly be worth keeping. Craig told me I could take a boat to Antarctica if I wanted.
Yeah, you absolutely can. There is no law or rule about not going to Antarctica. Nobody is going to stop you. There is no military force that will turn you around when you charter your own boat and go to Antarctica. They can be freely explored. It's usually a good idea to get permits and stuff so people know that you're going to be there and pay for insurance and stuff so people can save you if you're going to get in trouble. But there is nothing in the Antarctic Treaty that prohibits people going there independently to explore. You have to follow the rules, as i.e., not leaving any toxic waste behind, which is probably why they brought Wits at home, to be fair.
This
Yeah,
one.
but you'd certainly need some protection if you were going to Antarctica. It's a bit chilly out there.
I mean, actually, at the moment, it's colder in New Jersey than it is in the majority of Antarctica. Antarctica is currently in its summertime, having unseasonably warm weather after the recent storm, whereas New Jersey and New York are currently around -2, I believe.
Yeah,
Wow.
about that.
This one comes in from, appreciate your question. David says, "Is Craig going to be live in New Jersey? I haven't heard anything about it." Are you for real? Like, are you, Dave? You got to let me know in the live chat. Are you trolling me? Because for me, I really do try hard to like know like is our marketing working? Because we've been running ads for real to try to get the word out to get a packed venue for Craig and for the other speakers so that they're speaking in front of a big crowd because that just makes it more fun. There's more energy. It's like, and so we don't want them sitting. Long story short, I'm wondering, like, do you really not know about that, David? Are you messing with me? Is David messing with me, Craig? Do you know David?
I don't. I know many Davids. I don't know if I know this David.
No. Sounds
But
like
David, yes, I am. I am going to be in New Jersey in 2 weeks, debating Alex Stein and Andrew Wilson. It's going to be a lot of fun. Andrew Wilson is apparently quite excited to have a beer with me, so that sounds cool.
Even though you and Andrew are so like you disagree so much and you guys have very strong personalities, which I actually like. I know that sometimes I tell you, Craig, like, oh, Craig, relax. But your guys' debates people enjoy. You guys are
Yeah,
passionate guys. And even though you disagree so much, I like both of you. So I'm excited that you guys like kind of like each other and have like a mutual respect in the sense that you guys are both very good rhetoricians. And you're also very good like you guys understand kind of the tone and confidence needed to be a good debater. But long story short,
yeah.
cool. What wait, let me just folks, if you can forgive me if I just really quick for my own curiosity. Folks, have you seen any of the ads that I've run? Because right now, between mine and Craig's channel, We have about 1,000 people watching live, and I'm looking at the live chats. I'm trying to see like how effective these are. Although to be fair, most of
I'll
you.
put up a poll on mine. Are you able to put up a poll on yours as well, James, to see if people have seen any
Oh,
adverts?
that's a good idea. I'm gonna put a poll in the live chat, and please, like, just honestly give me your feedback. Like, this one is actually like a serious poll because I'm just kind of curious, like, if anybody has. If you, let's see. Uh, First, I want to do a poll with like people in the Northeast because we've really only targeted that area. So let's put it this way: only respond to the poll if you are in the Northeast. So like Northeast United States, like Virginia and northeast of Virginia. Let me know. Okay, Penguin says, okay, thanks for your smack talk, Penguin. Why are these the haters show up every time?
Hey,
Uh,
I am happy if this smack towards me. I'm fully happy if you read it out. It does not bother me.
oh,
All right.
no, it's toward me, but I'm like, why do you even
Oh, right.
show up
Okay.
every time? But
I
Adam
just assumed
says,
they were hating on me. I don't know why.
Adam Johnson says, I've seen your adverts on every debate recently. Oh, okay, cool. Well, but just to be sure, Adam, when I say ads, I mean the ones that play before a video for 4 seconds before you can click to get past them, not like not the ads that you see at the very start of the
Well,
stream where I'm like putting that into the content myself. Like I'm putting that into our own streams. I mean like the ads where
James,
you're
it looks like about 1 in 4 people on my side have seen an advert for it.
wow, no kidding. I'm gonna put the
That's
same poll. Uh, I'm like super like I'm actually encouraged. Okay, so like they're getting out there. I'm actually kind of curious. Like, has anybody bought it? Can you put it in chat? Like, can you tag me with at Modern Day Debate in either chat if you've bought a ticket as a result of seeing an ad? I know that a lot of times it's common people have to see an ad like 5 times before they actually buy. So I know that it's not super meaningful, but I am kind of curious, like if anybody did nonetheless, even if they've only seen it once. I'm going to put this in live chat. Sorry, Marcus, that you have to deal with this. We're
That's
going
all right.
back on track. Um,
No, it's good to promote it.
Thank you for your graciousness. I appreciate that, Marcus. And they let's see. Megan Maurice said, Craig, I'm looking forward to my facepalm protection in 2 weeks. Everyone get your tickets to DebateCon 5 now. I agree. Folks,
yeah,
don't put it
baby.
off. Huh? Oh yeah, that's right.
I said, yeah, baby.
Don't put it off, folks.
If you are getting one of these, just quickly, if you need a left-handed one, let me know because I've got to make them specifically. Okay.
No, it's
Let's
good.
see. I'm just looking so um just looking for people's that if anybody tagged me. I know that a lot of you have an ad blocker, which I don't blame you. Like I use Rumble to listen to a lot of prank phone calls, but Rumble is filled with the most annoying ads. Drives me
James,
crazy.
how I've just become addicted to that in the past few days. I don't know how it appeared in my algorithm. I saw it on Facebook, and I watched one prank phone call on Rumble, and I've watched about 100.
Really?
Yeah, it just appeared in my algorithm the other day on Facebook, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun.
Oh, I love them. But yes, I do listen to those on Rumble all the time. And because Rumble has the best ones that YouTube won't allow. But the Turk says, Alan, which Apollo missions is your film from? Did you use the camera for Apollo?
What was that?
They said, which Apollo mission is your film from? Did you use the camera from Apollo?
Showing what? Not quite sure what the question refers to.
He's basically saying that camera, the stuff that you've got, was that from the Apollo mission, and did you use the cameras on the Apollo mission, or are you just making assumptions? That's the question.
No, I have handled a replica of the Hasselblad camera. They were all left on the lunar surface, we're told, except for Apollo 13, where they didn't go to. Apollo 13, as we know, didn't land on the moon. It was supposed to. Apollo 14 followed about 18 months later, once they'd worked out what went wrong with Apollo 13. But that's an interesting story in itself. Apollo 13 launched on April the 11th, 1970. And the next day, in the Bay of Biscay, which is near France and Spain, the Soviet Navy, which are conducting naval exercises in the Bay of Biscay came across an Apollo command module floating in the Atlantic, which seemed a bit odd. So they thought, well, we better pull it out. So they hauled it out of the sea, took it back to Murmansk, where their base was, handed it back to America 6 months later. It's now on display at the Grand Rapids Museum. And Apollo 13 is the only Apollo mission on which 2 command modules are on public display. There's another one on the Kansas Cosmodrome. Seems a bit odd to have 2 command modules, which the one floating in the Atlantic hadn't been reported missing. I mean, it's a real command module. There are photographs of it in Murmansk and on the USS Southwind, which took it back to America, where it was then put on display. But how did it get from wherever it started to the Bay of Biscay, which is a long way away from Florida, about 2,000 miles from Florida?
I would imagine a logistics company of some kind.
Say again?
I would imagine a logistics company of some kind dealt with the transportation.
Well, it's possible, but
yeah, that's normally how you transport things. Is you contact a logistics company and you say, "I've got a thing. Can you take it from A to B?" And they go, "Yeah, here's a quote." And you'll go, "Okay, I accept." And then you've got business.
Okay, but why would they need to transport an Apollo command module from Florida to basically France?
Because they wanted to take it to France.
But then it was not reported as being missing.
No one said it was missing. It was transported. People probably knew about that.
No, nobody knew about it. There are no reports of it. It's described as being a boilerplate, which is a practice command module, but it hadn't been reported missing. And you'd think that it's a fairly big piece of kit, weighs about 5 tons.
With all due respect, you're making the assumption that it was missing. No one ever said it was missing.
What do you mean?
It was. You're just going, no one ever reported it missing. Yeah, because they knew where it was going. It's like if my wife was going to see her friend to have like a girls' night or something, I wouldn't report the police and say my wife's missing because I knew where she was. They didn't report the thing missing because they knew where it was.
I don't follow, because these things are not.
How?
I mean, these are almost unique pieces of kit. The Apollo command.
Yeah, and that's probably why they knew where it was. They were like, right, I want to get it to this place, so let's transport it. Like, why would somebody think it was missing to report it missing?
Because nobody had reported it missing.
Yeah, probably because it wasn't missing.
Well, it was missing.
How do you know it was missing?
Well, what was it doing floating in the Bay of Biscay?
Someone put it there.
Who put it there?
Somebody.
Must move.
And why would they put it there? It makes no sense.
Have you looked into it, or are you just like getting half the story?
No, I've looked into it. I've read the reports from the Russian side and from the American.
Must move.
Again, I don't want to sound rude, Marcus, but you've said to me many times I've looked into it and then failed to provide evidence that you've looked into it. So I don't know if I can trust you when you say that.
We must
Okay.
go. We must go to the next one. Backful Dads says human greed never allows such big gap for return. I don't know what that means.
Human greed never allows it. Right. I think he's talking about the fact that we haven't been back for 50 years. And if that is what they're talking about, then the simple answer is money. They stopped giving money to the project because the politicians didn't need that to be a thing. When America needed to win the space race, because they lost everything else at that point, the Russians got someone in space first. They got a person, a dog in space first. They got the first satellite up. America had to do something. So politicians were like, oh, gonna get us to the moon. Oh, we'll vote for him. Give lots of money. Once it was done, there was no political reason for it anymore. So the politicians didn't promote it. So there wasn't that as much money put towards it. There was no reason to go back to the moon at that point. So they didn't.
And also 3 of the missions were cancelled. Apollo 18, 19, and 20 were cancelled by Nixon, who was president at the time.
Because they took the money away from us, and it wasn't needed. They obviously, it wasn't like Elon Musk's rockets where it's like a factory pumping out a bunch of them. These were kind of single-use things that were, each one was made specifically, and the funding to do that then was taken away, so they didn't go back. The money was put into other things. I don't know, hiding blowjobs from the White House and stuff. I'm not really sure what America does.
Well, they obviously put the money into the Vietnam War, because that was
probably, yeah.
I mean, that was trillions of dollars, not billions.
This one.
So maybe they just ran out of money and they couldn't be bothered to do it again, which seemed a bit strange.
This one.
It's like Charles Lindbergh flying the Atlantic in 1927 and nobody doing it again for 50 years.
This one coming in from Backle Data says we got that. Isa Kabir says, why wouldn't the USSR support the US's claim of landing?
Why wouldn't they? Because they were enemies.
This one from
if it was fake, they would have been like, no, you didn't do it. But it wasn't fake, so they said so.
Dr. Tetanus says, I think you missed my response to Craig. He said, okay, if you ever debate anyone on Christianity and they cite the Bible or the writings of the early fathers, you can say nothing about their sources. I'll give you a chance to respond, Craig.
What do you mean I can say nothing about their sources? Well, if they've got the text and stuff as reference and their sources, then I can say what I like about the sources if I've also studied those sources. I don't really understand the question.
I don't either. I'm thinking there's maybe some sort of parallel where they're trying to say, I don't understand how I think they're trying to draw an analogy between obviously the moon landing sources, but I could be wrong about that. But I can't even tell what it is. They said, Danny D. Soul says, the moon dust falling faster than the astronaut in the jump salute, quote unquote, proves NASA fakery. Alan won.
There's no dust falling faster than an astronaut. Everything on the moon accelerates, downwards at like 2.3 meters per second squared or something. A lot less than the Earth's 9.8 meters per second squared. Sorry, what was it, Alan? Adam and Marcus? I got the number wrong there. I'm tired.
1.63 seconds.
1.63. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Everything on the moon accelerates down at that speed. Now, if things have less kinetic energy going up at the same time as something else, then it will take longer to then go down before the kinetic energy is dispersed. There's no more momentum before the gravitational acceleration becomes the prevalent force. So you can't just analyze things falling. You have to see what has happened before that. In physics, you need the position and the direction of something to be able to calculate where it's going to be in the future.
Yeah, interesting point about the jump salute. They go up about 18 inches, something like that, relatively small height. Right, they got a spacesuit on, so they're a bit encumbered. There's an interesting point about these spacesuits. The backpack, the PLSS, Portable Life Support System, weighed about the same as the astronaut themselves, about 180 pounds. We're told that the spacesuit weighed. So if an astronaut weighed about 180 pounds, it's the same, more or less the same weight as the astronaut. Now, if you carried somebody weighing the same as you on your back, you'd have to lean forward to make sure that your center of gravity was over your feet. Because if it's outside your feet, you're going to fall over. I mean, try it. It's
yeah,
pretty.
Marcus, you have missed the point, of course, that the weight would be 1/5 of what you've just described, because the gravitational acceleration is so much less as well. So, yes, although on Earth the astronaut and the suit weigh those amounts, on the moon they weigh 1/5 of those amounts.
Yeah.
And it's quite clear that the astronauts were awkward. They weren't used to being in that position with the awkward weights and the difference in the gravitational acceleration. You can see that they didn't look, like they knew what they were doing, at least in the initial moments outside when they did the UVA.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They were a bit awkward, and they had this weird sort of bunny hop type movement, which maybe they found it easier to move like that. But then, if they weighed much less than they did on Earth, which is correct, 1/6 gravity on the moon, the contact between their feet and the ground would be like walking on ice, because they're much less, they got much less weight because of the gravity. If they
I think you're
moving,
misinterpreting the physics
they're
there.
moving, it'd be like here on Earth moving on an ice rink.
No, with all due
Less
respect, you're misinterpreting how the physics would work in that instance. Everything on the moon is under the same gravitational acceleration. There's no reason it would be like on ice. The regolith isn't just moving individually. The astronauts sank quite deep into the regolith in the times where it was. There was no walking on ice or any reason that it would be like walking on ice. If anything, it would be like, walking underwater.
Let's go to the next question. Thank you very much for this one coming in from
Okay.
Danny D. Soul says, we got that. David says, Marcus, can you make a shrill giggle? That will help prepare Craig before Alex Stein at DebateCon 5 in Newark,
Oh,
New Jersey.
I have watched far more Alex Stein than I would ever have liked to over the past couple of weeks, honestly. And now my algorithm keeps promoting Alex Stein. I'm blaming you for this, James.
That's funny. And this one from last question coming in from Dr. Tetanus says, appeal to authority. NASA equals source. Bible equals source.
Incorrect. That's not appeal to authority. An appeal to authority is when you say this person is in charge, therefore they are right. Like I explained earlier, if the king says that the earth is round, and I say the earth's round because the king says so, that's an appeal to authority. But if there's a scientific institution with evidence to back up claims, and you go to them, that's not appealing to authority. That's appealing to logic and evidence. The claim of the Bible being a source and therefore being an appeal to authority, again, no. If you're talking about religious text, you can absolutely refer to the Bible, but you couldn't refer to, say, the Ethiopian church that uses the Book of Enoch as an authority on all versions of the Bible, because not all versions of Christianity agree with what they say. So that would be an appeal to authority.
I think I never liked the appeal to authority name for a fallacy because
Is there another
there's
name
really,
for it?
well, no, unfortunately that's the convention, but I think it should be called appeal to an irrelevant authority because
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah. Because
yeah,
that's where the confusion comes from, right? Because people have the assumption then that, well, any authority makes it an appeal to an authority, but that's really not how it is.
yeah, it's kind of like, wouldn't it? Because like if someone brings it up, I mean that's like classic rhetoric in a debate. You bring up like credible authorities in a field, the relevant field, that support you, and
Yeah, yeah.
so
That's
it's
what I think the people in the chat are missing. That the people in the chat are going, no, you're wrong because NASA's an authority. Well, yeah, but they're the relevant authority. And
right.
so therefore it's not an appeal to authority because they're the people that actually know about that thing.
Yeah, it's ironic that the use like the quote unquote the informal logical fallacies that people describe like ad hominem appeal to authority, they're
You
not
you
used
know what
well.
one
I
gets
thought
me,
like
James? The one
they're
that
just
really gets me is when people say that an insult is an ad hom. That drives me mad.
yeah, we talked about that the other night and it drove me nuts. But yeah, it's funny that appeal to authority, it's like, well, it's at least a relevant piece of the puzzle. Like, wouldn't you consult authorities like that study it full time, at least as a piece of
Yeah.
a converging line of evidence that should fit with your arguments? Like, but Let me see if there are any last questions. Danny D. Soul says, do the astronauts on the ISS just use zippers, Craig?
No, they're inside the ISS.
What happens when they go outside the ISS?
They
Into
wear
space?
they wear an EVA suit.
How is that different?
Well, because one's the ISS and one's an EVA suit. They're pretty different.
One last one. The Turk said Alan. I know this sounds familiar, but they said Alan, like, I just feel like you didn't really quite answer it. They said, which Apollo mission is your film from? Did you use the camera from Apollo? I think like he didn't understand it, the Turk. I think that he wanted like more context. So I do want to like encourage you, like, could you give me more feedback in the chat on what you mean by that? Because I think Alan just wasn't sure, and frankly, I don't exactly understand it as well. So we did ask it though, just so you know, the Turk. It was asked earlier. I do want to remind folks a couple of things. One, Newark, New Jersey. If you somehow didn't know, actually, let me just show everybody. Namely, let me just show everybody like who's all going to be there in Newark. Really quick, because I'm like surprised that like I think that so and so earlier was serious that they were like, nope, I didn't know. So I do really want to quickly show people before we get that next question, what exactly in terms of Newark, like who's going to be at DebateCon 5? So you're kind of
Right.
like, oh,
I spoke to Ryan earlier and he told me he was going skiing, and I was like, don't Michael Schumacher yourself before I meet you. And he's just sent me a video of him falling down the mountain.
that's funny. I basically, let me pull this up. Oh, this is weird. Oh, okay, it's because of this. So let me just folks, you're maybe wondering who else is going to be there besides Craig and Alex Stein. One thing, I'm not trying to be mean. Uh it's totally okay. A lot of times people like they have a million things on their mind, right? So they don't even know like what even on screen is like showing. Because a lot of people, like, if I call their attention to the screen right now and I say, hey, I don't know if you saw like the bottom right of the screen, you see Fight the Flat Earth Craig and Alex Stein looking at each other, and it says government moon hoax. That's like one of the debates that's happening in Newark. That's why it says in Newark on that little card at the bottom right of your screen. But I do want to show people as well, because there may be like, what other debates are going to be there? This, as of now, seconds.
Thank you to the guys gifting memberships on my side. I'm back up to 4.5 hours. You're not going to let me go to sleep ever, are you?
As you can see on the screen, folks, take a peek. You can see at these are all the debates that are going to happen at DebateCon. We are expecting one is going to draw out. In fact, they just emailed confirming it. Basically, one of these we're going to have to do an announcement shortly, like in the next couple hours. But these are generally the debates that'll be there. So you see Craig and Andrew Wilson, apostate prophet, against an unnamed opponent.
It looks like you're hiding it behind our Zoom.
Oh yeah,
thing.
don't worry. The audience sees different from what you guys are seeing. So
No, I'm looking at the stream, and it's kind of our Zoom screen on top. You can't really see what you're showing behind.
oh, what I was showing the
There we go.
audience.
No, oh right, no. Sorry, I may have been like a minute behind. My bad.
That's all right. So yeah, long story short, those debates are all going to be at DebateCon. So you can see Witsit against Brianna Wu, popular political debater, not so erudite, Sean Fitzgerald. It's going to be an amazing conference. So check that out. That is linked in the description box. Let me check. I think we just had a last question. David says, James, I was kidding about not knowing. Craig has mentioned it 173 times during his epic live stream. Oh, thank you. I'm good to know that you did. And then Dr. Tetanus says, my authority is more gooder than yours argument. Okay.
No, you're just misunderstanding the fallacy that it isn't. Number one, logical fallacies don't belong in scientific debates. They belong in philosophical debates. Number two, you need to understand how the fallacies work. And unfortunately, you are wrong about how appeal to authority works. Like James said, it would be better called appeal to a relevant authority. NASA would be the relevant authority. King Charles would be the irrelevant authority.
You got it.
But do we believe that NASA tells the truth about everything all the time?
I have never had any evidence shown to me that NASA have told an untruth.
Next
Okay.
time, maybe we'll debate NASA and whether or not they've allegedly told lies. But I do want to wrap up so we can get you guys out of here. Folks, thank you for all your questions today. Check out our guest links in the description box. I have to update those as well. But I want to say thank you to our guests. They are the lifeblood of this channel. They make this channel fun. So thank you guys. And we will see you folks at the next debate. Thank you, Fight the Flat Earth Craig and Marcus Allen.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, James. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you,
My
Craig.
pleasure.
Always good to chat with you.
I tried to be as calm as possible today.
Well done, you did.
Thank you. And one last, Danny D. Soul sent in a last minute super chat, says zippers and 3 guys pooping in diapers is 100% proof it was fake. Allen wins. Fight the Flat Earth. I don't know if you want to engage with that.
Zippers and 3 guys pooping in diapers. I mean, you guys are weird, basically.
This one coming.
I got no response.
We'll conclude with that then.
Yeah, don't insult your audience.
We'll wrap up. We want to say thank you, folks. We will see you at the next one. I'll be back in just a moment to let you know about upcoming stuff for Modern Day Debates. Stick around, and I'll be back in just one moment. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill as well. Folks, thanks so much for your support. We are very excited about the future. DebateCon 5 is happening in Newark, New Jersey. I want to say we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for all your love. Yeah, we are excited about this conference. Do check out the tickets link in the description box. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. Now, I'm going to go because I have to go get a break because we are actually going to have a debate tonight. So I'm going to be back here hosting a debate in, 4 hours? 4 hours. So I got to go. But thank you, and we'll see you then. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against inspiring philosophy Mike Jones on Saturday, February 15th, and Andrew Wilson against atheist Craig McNeill, as well as other debaters, including David Wood and apostate prophet. So click below to grab your tickets right now, as some ticket types have already sold out. You don't want to miss out on this cultural moment that's starting Saturday, February 15th in Newark, New Jersey, with 2 full days of debates. So click below to grab your tickets right now so you don't miss out. Newark, New Jersey is where Modern Day Debate's next debate conference, DEBATECON 5, is happening, including debates like Dr. Lawrence Krauss against